Hello everyone, welcome back to Crypto's News. I hope you're having an amazing week. It's been another week in crypto and I'm here to give you guys an update on what have been the most trending of news. There's always going to be a lot to cover. I try to stay away from some of the crazy specifics that happen from things that seem like gambles, namely NFTs. I'm not here to necessarily name you the latest and greatest NFT, unless it is absolutely outstanding, but pretty much that's a market that is all over the place. Same thing with some of these other projects, but I think patience will be the game here. When you're holding the blue chip cryptos, that tends to pay off quite well. I think a lot of people are out there looking for those gambles, and really what they're doing is losing money when they could have been putting that into Satoshis, right? Becoming a Satoshi millionaire, because in the future, you're only going to need 0.01 Satoshi. I mean, a Bitcoin, and that will be enough to be a millionaire. There's not enough Bitcoin out there for every person to have a whole Bitcoin. So no, not everyone's going to be a whole coiner. Apparently whole coiner wasn't even a term until quite recently, because it was pretty easy to get whole Bitcoins if you wanted to get them early on. Now the price is out of reach and it's getting harder to become a whole coiner. So to be a whole Satoshier, that's going to be the thing of the future. That was actually like a conversation I had seen taking place today. But it is an example. Again, we're going through a crazy, I think, awakening. I hate to use that wokeness term and all of that, since it's been it's such a loaded term these days, but for lack of a better term, I think it really is a thing that's going on, which is people waking up to how fiat really works, especially as inflation is not something that's going to be going away. Like corruption, debasement of money, these are the things that have brought down entire civilizations. And we could possibly be facing the same damn thing, since technologically money hasn't really advanced very much. Yeah, we have credit cards and so on and PayPal, but it hasn't really solved the issue of debasement perhaps until Bitcoin was created. So we're here with a seat at the table witnessing it. I appreciate you all who make it out, take time to be here live with me so we can witness this. I think it is going to be an awakening as more and more people realize they should have some sort of exposure, firstly through traditional financials, I think, then ultimately through maybe even sovereignty. It's great to see more and more tools for people to adopt these things and to have wallets and so on, to see more clarification. We're on the road, guys. That's all I'm saying. All of this was like almost a dream when I started making videos, that all of this would be happening in the way that it is. We knew that it would be an obstacle. We knew that it was going to be tricky on the way up and toward adoption. And indeed, the road has been tumultuous, but I think the glimmers of the other side become a little bit clear. It does seem like it's going to be at least a hybrid model where everybody wins. You're going to see, again, corporations win, individuals win. Everyone ultimately, I think, wins when we adopt this new kind of technology, and it's great to be here with you guys. Anyway, I at least hope that we defeat central bank digital currencies, more and more calls against those sorts of things, which are the exact opposite of freedom, sovereignty, and everything else, and privacy that cryptocurrency hopes to engender. I look at cryptocurrencies as a kind of like commodity, just like you would look at least Bitcoin, right? Like air. God created air. Maybe God created Bitcoin. Maybe God was Satoshi. But anyway, I do see it as something like that, whereby it's open. Anybody can find it and use it, right? It's not exactly the same when you have a central bank digital currency that's issued and controlled, and again, possibly debased by centralized institutions. It's about a voice, guys. Thanks for allowing me to have one here with you guys. Who's here live with us? Whole Coiner. I hear that whole coiner will be millionaire soon. Yeah, probably sooner. Maybe whole coiners will be the billionaires, and you're gonna have the Satoshiers being the millionaires. That's a possibility, right? Wendell, what's up? I'm at work paying more attention to this than corporate job. Thanks, Nameless. I encountered this thread earlier about like, how do I make money when I get my corporate work done in 4 hours and I still have 4 hours sitting at the desk? What do I do? People are like, fill out surveys, do remote data entry work, get an education. Get Bitcoin, bruh. Kidding. Cool, man. I really appreciate you, Nameless, out here showing up. I really sincerely mean that. And what's up, Donald Jackson? What a real crypto show. We're lit. So I might be on Bitcoin Ben's show. Some of you might remember Bitcoin Ben. He was on the show, on the old show back in like, I think 18 was the last time I probably had Bitcoin Ben on. I'll probably be on his show next week. He sent me a message on Twitter, so check that out. Let him know you're excited to see crypto. We'll be chatting about news and whatever else he feels like talking about if that works out. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started here, guys. As always, grab yourself a nice cold beverage, a comfortable seat, and a humorous state of mind as we get into things. Where are we here? All right, so here's what we got with the prices right now. Let's refresh to make sure this is live. Yes, please resubmit that form. Oh, it looks like we're lost. Oh no, we have Bitcoin down 1.6% over the last 24 hours. Volatility has picked up over the last week, but we're pretty much flat. Since a week ago, we have pretty much been trending sideways. Bitcoin hasn't really broken below $30,000, which is really a good sign, because before we thought that breaking $30,000 was going to set it up as a clear support level, but that just was not the truth. Especially with some of the battles with the SEC, you did see Bitcoin go down back into the $28,000 territory, even lower than that, right? And it just showed that we had not been really able to hold $30,000 and set ourselves up for further psychological support levels of, I don't know, $32,000 Bitcoin, $35,000, $40,000 Bitcoin, but maybe now it will be with Bitcoin showing its strength here. We'll see if it holds up here, but it does seem like it wants to hold up. Surprisingly, Ethereum has not managed to break the $2,000 level. I thought it would be like $30,000 Bitcoin, $2,000 Ethereum, but whoops, guess not. It looks like ratio here is struggling somewhat, but that's, I think, because of what you've seen, of course, with the Bitcoin ETFs recently. A lot of excitement surrounding that, institutional products, BlackRock getting Bitcoin first, really, and it having a little bit more clarity. So I think that's possibly what's playing a role here. You're also seeing that a usage of different decentralized applications on Ethereum has gone down recently. Gas prices, I actually think this is a pretty good thing, but gas prices are down 60%. So if you've been waiting for certain transaction on Ethereum to be to have done, then now would be a great time to do those for a cheaper price. Bitcoin dominance 48.7%, Ethereum 18.3%. The biggest loser, I would say, here on the day, you have Cardano down 6.6%, and you have Polygon down 7.2%. But not really any names that are being protected here in the short term, but really I think we're focused more on the show, more on when we're looking at price action medium term, and really adoption on the longer term scale is what really matters here. So opportunities, right? When one door closes, we tend to focus on one door for our happiness and be like, oh no, and really there's another door that could be the door for happiness, the door to do cheaper transactions and to scoop up more Bitcoin. Like I read this thread today about this individual's like, I get so upset, right, when Bitcoin is going up. There's a part of me that gets really upset because I may never become that whole coiner. I may have less of a chance to accrue more of these digital currencies while they're cheaper. And I think that's a good mentality to have, especially if you're dollar cost averaging. The longer this goes on, tends to be more built up pressure. It tends to mean that you're going to be going up for a little bit longer, that when you do see these explosions in price that have been somewhat when the spring has been coiled, it just explodes a lot higher, and it's happened time and time again. And so we just enjoy these times. We enjoy these times to pick up more of these things. Bitcoin, however, on the short term, to me, does look like it does want to release some on the short term because of this relative strength index. We are looking at the daily here for the relative strength indicator, but it's sitting quite high, around 64 right now, almost at 70. So at the higher end of this orange area. Basically, that just means that Bitcoin, looking at this daily indicator and looking at the past historically, where it does come down to the lower numbers here, might be a little bit overbought. Again, it doesn't really matter if you're dollar cost averaging, but for the traders out there, I think it would be a little bit dangerous to go super long. Maybe you read something that gets you super bullish and you're thinking you're going to be rich by tomorrow. Maybe you think in 30 days, Bitcoin is going to be going to $1 million. Do people pick on Balaji right now? I wonder what's up with Balaji. I feel like he put it all on the line when he started saying that Bitcoin was going. You guys might remember that, right? This guy, great, I think, mind, but he got pretty excited when some of these banks were failing and was talking about Bitcoin going, I don't know if it was 30 or 90 days now. crypto times. It's really confusing. But he was saying it was going to hit $1 million. That did not happen. I feel like next time he has some sort of huge prediction, people are going to be like, you were so wrong with that. That's the problem with staking or making bets, right? Because this was a legitimate bet that he did, making bets for something like that. You lose legitimacy and credibility, I think, in the longer term. Anyways, patience, my friends. Ethereum rainbow price chart. Just wanted to take a look at that. Looks like we're still in the fire sale territory here. Back in 2020, you can see from basically January 2020 to January 2021, almost a whole year, we were sitting in this fire sale territory, the lower blue band of this rainbow. And that tends to mean, or has meant, not necessarily mean it's going to be happening again. I always have to put that out there, is that things could obviously change. Nobody knows the future, but it seems like if things happen as they have in the past for Bitcoin and even Ethereum here, which has a little bit less history, that we could be moving up again soon. And if it's exactly the same, right? Which is unlikely, but let's say it's exactly the same. So we're for about 1 year, we're in this blue territory, and you can accrue at these fire sale prices based on the curves of this rainbow chart. And then we pump again for about 6 months, like happened in that period. And we go from the fire sale territory to the have we really earned it territory. You saw, Ethereum basically go from like $400 up to almost about $4,000. Pretty phenomenal, $4,372. If such a thing were to happen again, we were to go up for another 6 months from here, because we're really right around that year territory in this area. If we start climbing again, let's say by the end of the year, what numbers are we looking at here? Let's get excited. That's there we go. So we're talking January 24th, 2024, like that number. We would be in possibly maximum bubble territory at 54,000. But realistically, let's say we get to just the, but have we earned it territory? We're talking about a $26,262 Ether. And I've heard all sorts of predictions. People are like, $10,000 completely realistic to me. So that would still be quite an opportunity from where we're at right now. But if we're talking about $26,000, that's a huge increase. We're talking, 13x, 13 times, right? 13 times 2,000, which is basically where we're at, would take us up to that. So you 13x on your money would be quite remarkable to see that happening. But yeah, you can play with this yourself. Not a guarantee that it's going to be happening, but it's nice to be hopeful, right? It's nice to be hopeful. Anyway, this was a post, a controversial post that had been put up on the cryptocurrency subreddit. This was 4 days ago. Anyone who purchased Bitcoin Cash the past 12 months has doubled their money in the past few days. That normally takes 13 years in the S&P 500. Crypto is high risk, high reward. Regular people still have a shot at getting wealthy even in 2023. I don't know about that. I think patience is generally how people might get wealthy, and I don't think it's going to be super quick. It's hard to time entries, even harder to time exits when you're so euphoric, because as we saw Ether rising in the last period, 400, eventually hitting $2,000. After $2,000, people were getting really, really antsy. To ride that all the way up to $4,000 and sell at the perfect time was a tricky proposition, because if you got to that point, you hit 2,000, then it goes 4,000, you're like, maybe this is finally the floodgates showing up here, and Ether is going to go to 10,000, then you don't sell. So just putting that out there. But I guess congrats to the BCH believers out there who have held on through like a lack of news, seemingly a lack of adoption and progression and so on. And finally hearing that there's going to be possibly even institutional adoption products coming out for BCH, meaning BCH is not likely to die anytime soon. I currently have no exposure. I do have to put that out there to BCH, but props if you've been holding that yourself. Anyway, Bitcoin is up 75% since Jim Cramer, CNBC, told investors to get out in January. It says here he had a bold statement back in January 9th, that this would be a good chance to get out of crypto, specifically when Bitcoin was at $17,093. So if you listen to him, ouch. That's why there's the inverse Kramer account on Twitter, possibly an ETF here. Like, let's track just everything that Jim Cramer says and do the exact opposite and make bets on that. And you make so much money. That is a massively good bet, usually, to be doing. It is quite remarkable here. He had cautioned that he believed that Bitcoin was an enigmatic entity subject to manipulation, pointing at FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried. He said, talking about the asset, I think it is being manipulated up. It was being manipulated the whole time by Sam Bankman-Fried. So please don't assume, therefore, that it's still not being manipulated. I would sell my Bitcoin right into this rally, he had said back in March. And believe me, I had been a believer in Bitcoin at one time, but not here, not now. So, and also, the only other thing that we can be sure of, besides that you generally want to bet against anything that Mr. Kramer says, there it is, right? When he said it's a good opportunity to get out back in January 9th. Get out of crypto and scale out of Chinese stocks, as neither can be trusted. As sure as you can be to take the opposite bet, the other surety that you can have is that he's going to flip-flop and eventually follow the hype cycle back into Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies again at some point. Anyway, yeah. Sorry to the believers and the fans. They're probably out there, right? I don't know. Maybe they just keep him on because they know he's so controversial and so bad, and people like to make fun of him, and he gets clicks because of that. That's really why I think he's still on television. And people just like the same damn thing, the same damn faces over and over. That's why still you have George Clooney at the head of so many Hollywood movies, right? It's the same names pretty much at the top. It was that Hollywood didn't cast young actors. They didn't cast older actors, right? Until the younger actors who were popular got older, and now they're still the same people being cast. Anyway, this is a lot of people are saying Bitcoin is really only holding up right now and being so stable at these levels because you have MicroStrategy that has been pumping Bitcoin continuously. This company that added Bitcoin to its treasury balance sheet and holds quite a lot of Bitcoin. They have purchased again an additional Bitcoin they've announced. So this could have been some of the reason that we did see a recent price increase. You can see this bump here that we recently got. I don't know if it's really the case, but they did acquire another 12,333 Bitcoins and currently hold 152,333 Bitcoin, which if we pull out our percentage calculator here, we plug in some numbers, what percent of 21 million Bitcoin that will ever exist, even though just north of 19 million Bitcoin, like 19.5 million Bitcoin are the one, let me see how many it is, that have already been printed. We can actually check that out, right? We can see the circulating supply. Yeah, 19,414,481 Bitcoin have been printed out of 21 million Bitcoin that will ever be printed. So as a percentage of the total Bitcoin that will ever be printed, they currently have about 0.725% of those Bitcoin, which is not an outsized amount when it comes to voting, when it comes to influence, but it is a quite huge amount. I don't know what the exact numbers are. You've previously had talks about how the Winklevoss twins had even more Bitcoin than this at some points. And you have also Grayscale having a lot of Bitcoin. Satoshi obviously holds a lot of Bitcoin. A lot of Bitcoin had been lost. So as far as influence, it's hard to say exactly what it is. But still, as others are saying, this is quite crazy, right? He's either going to be a genius, Michael Saylor, the founder and CEO of MicroStrategy, either a genius or an absolute idiot in the history books who destroyed the company. But yeah, the Bitcoiners are, and everyone else, I guess, is still watching, right? So the thing that's coming out now, I guess what people are talking about in the interwebs related to this news and this latest purchase is that MicroStrategy is selling shares in order to buy this. So they're not sitting on a huge amount of cash in order to buy this Bitcoin. Basically, they're leveraging the shares that they have in their own company, selling those for cash and using that in order to buy Bitcoin. So MicroStrategy sold 334 million dollars worth of shares in this last filing. It's been made clear to buy $347 million worth of Bitcoin. As of March, MicroStrategy only had $90 million worth of cash on their balance sheet. He's either Chad, he's going to be regarded as either Chad or mentally retarded in the future. This was big news that came out about 2 or 3 days ago about Coinbase coming before the Supreme Court in the first major crypto case before a Supreme Court. And it was in reference to a bunch of other cases that Coinbase is dealing with and clogging up the judicial system with, which is already quite backlogged, right? So this is in regards to arbitration. When you go to many different crypto companies, when you go to their website, when you sign up for their product to use their products, you oftentimes sign an arbitration agreement whereby you agree to not sue Coinbase in the event of this or that. Instead, you'll settle the dispute directly with Coinbase, and you basically waive your rights to a trial. So this is in reference to certain cases specifically here. For example, there's a case about some individual who was hacked and like $30,000, I believe it was taken out from his account when the hacker got access to his Coinbase account. That was one situation. Or another individual who was suing Coinbase because back in 2021, I think we have talked about this on the show, there was a sweepstakes that was taking place on Coinbase, and this individual thought that you had to buy Dogecoin in order to possibly win this sweepstakes and win money, but it turns out you didn't really have to invest in Dogecoin in order to have tickets or whatever, a chance to win this sweepstakes. But that was not made clear by Coinbase, according to the accuser and the person suing. So anyway, these kinds of cases were taken all the way up to the Supreme Court, and it has been ruled 5-4 in favor of Coinbase, that Coinbase can proceed with arbitration rather than having to deal those court cases directly with the entire judicial system. So this would bring along some of the benefits of arbitration. For example, efficiency. These kinds of situations can be resolved quicker, less expense, less lawyers being involved from both sides having to be paid from the defendant and the plaintiff, less intrusive discovery, right? Like remember, I think it was FTX or Celsius at least that had huge amounts of leaks of customer data, that this was public knowledge because it had to be filed with the courts, and the courts published this data publicly. So now like hackers can see this kind of information. So less of this can be published and discovered, right? It allows for more privacy by dealing with this kind of arbitration and so on. So anyway, that's pretty much why this has been ruled here. There was a Justice Kendaji Brown Jackson who said that this majority opinion comes out of nowhere. I see no basis here for wresting away the discretion traditionally entrusted to the judge closest to the case. But yeah, I think this is part of the reason you're seeing Coinbase shares up recently. This was something else that happened earlier in the week on June 23rd. So about 5 days ago, in the last 24 hours, had been written here by Bitcoin News.com on Twitter. Every single member of Congress received a copy of one of the 3 following books. This is Bitcoin. This is the Bitcoin religion. So you know how like you have the Bible, Torah, the Quran. For Bitcoin, you have the Bitcoin Standard, Layered Money, a Progressive's Case for Bitcoin. So the members of Congress, every single member of Congress received a copy of one of those 3 books, and the U.S. Capitol was buzzing with talks of BTC this morning. I mean, it's obvious if they received these copies and they did not get lost or whatever, then they were buzzing. They were talking about it. Did you get these books? I got these books. Have you read the books? I haven't got time to read the books, but I would like to read the books this weekend, or I'll give it to my son to read about it. And the son, hopefully doesn't come bother me about this Bitcoin jargon, but he probably will. Christmas. But yeah, I mean, it's great to see that further education is done. Somebody took time out, they took time and money out of their own pocket in order to make sure that Congress could get this, and it would at least somewhat move the ticker of education higher in government to better speak and understand these things, hopefully for the betterment of them rather than to detract. Sometimes when somebody actually reads about Bitcoin, they can use that negatively, and you know how these politicians can spin facts, so it could be dangerous as well. You know what I'm saying? But I think for the most part, it's great to see education to allow for more nuanced discussion around Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. So this was an email. I had kind of not been following this as much, but if you've been in crypto for a long time, then likely you know about Bittrex exchange. Sadly, you probably know that they've gone bankrupt and they've had to deal with bankruptcy proceedings. I've pretty much just ignored a lot of this, but it's been one of the bigger names that has been taken down this bear market. Regulatory concerns and somewhat have led to Bittrex lawsuits, have led to Bittrex shutting their doors, which is, I think, a shame, but they had been going downhill for a long time. Anyway, if you have funds on Bittrex, you are urged to get them out. Since I haven't been following this, I didn't even realize that I had some Bitcoin on there. A little amount of Bitcoin, but still Bitcoin nonetheless, right? On Bittrex. I just logged in because I got an email saying, get your funds out. You have until August 31st to do that. And then you're going to have to deal, with... It's going to be a lot more difficult for you to get your crypto out if you don't do it by August 31st. So it was pretty easy for me to go onto Bittrex, use traditional 2FA to go ahead and initiate the withdrawal. I personally had issues doing it on my phone, but I took care of it on my computer. So if you have problems on your phone doing that, then just do it on your computer, and that should be processed for you real quickly. So this apparently started on June 15th. Actually, it's June 28th with a deadline for August 31st. You could also file a proof of claim if you have issues with your withdrawal, and you could be getting your funds sometime after that, possibly, if you don't do it by the deadline especially. Anyway, just wanted to give you a heads up on that. If you have actual cash USD on there, you're going to have to submit like another form with KYC in order to get a wire transfer initiated. There are minimums on the amount of crypto that you can withdraw. So if you have like Stardust on there from back in the day, it's just not going to be worth it. You have to meet the minimum fees for the different blockchains, yada, yada, as expected, right? Anyway, I hope you guys do enjoy this wrap up. It hasn't been a crazy week when it comes to news content, but as always, all the news that we cover has the potential to steamroll into something else, and it gives us hints as to what's going on here, trends that are going on here. Bitcoin destroying Jim Cramer's reputation just continues to happen. We should pay attention to that, right? I will finish with this that I found on the cryptocurrency subreddit just to have a little bit more hopium here. Inspire all. It's about the tech. You will be wealthier more than you currently think. Seeing one's portfolio bleed sucks. Being in a long bear market feels so boring, and every crash and dip was painful. Almost nobody can imagine themselves being richer anytime now. This was people from 2013 who also thought that crypto was over. 2017, a bull run can never come back since what happened. You remember ICOs? Terrible. 2019, sadly, crypto is finally dying. 2022, many too big to fail crypto exchanges and firms die like Bittrex. Crypto's times are over forever. Crypto tourists all left this space. The ones who still believes in crypto will be ones winning and becoming rich. If this would be an easy game, everyone would be wealthy already, but crypto is a hard game. Only those who stay steadfast, stay true, resilient to FUD, and kept on investing in crypto will be wealthier, even if it doesn't look like it now. Only the minority of people think this way. Why are so many people poor and only a few rich? It's their mindset. Don't be the majority, be the minority. The future will be bright for us all, at which point we will all be the majority. And then you have to find the new minority and then be that instead. Hint, 2024 will be having an event. It historically was always followed by a bull run. U.S. presidential elections also happens there. The new/or old president won't do anything which would make the markets mad. NFA, just my 2 cents. Just my 3 Satoshis. And I see where you're coming from, and that is good points there. You do see a lot of volatility around the presidential elections, insane, a lot of fear, a lot of propaganda, and this impacts the markets. But for the most part, it means market go up. We saw it 2016. We pretty much saw it in 2020. I think we would have seen it to a greater degree had COVID not happened, realistically. So always potential for black swans to happen out there. But if we know one thing, it's going to be absolutely nuts. If we know something else, it's that Bitcoin has been called dead numerous times, and it just comes back harder and stronger than ever with a new harder core class of diamond hands. It used to be just a small time man used to be proud about the amount of 1 penny Bitcoins that he had gotten from his mining rig, right? Then eventually it became the institutions, the Michael Saylors who are out there in the news for the hundreds of thousands of Bitcoins that they grew, and they're the new figureheads. Maybe it'll be the governments of the world who has more Bitcoin in the future. Anyway, I'm just excited to see what does happen and to share that with you guys, because at least it provides for plenty of entertainment. Here is our quote of the day by Robert Frost. The best way out is always through. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Those of you guys who are here live, what's going on, who are partaking in the chat. I will make sure to check out your comments after the show. I look forward to seeing you guys next week on Wednesday. Please continue to get the videos out there. Share them with family and friends as they become more and more interested in cryptocurrency. I think they will be as we move into the halvening. And do remember to hit that like button if you just like the content or want to share the love. I like you guys. Stay cryptic. Peace.